New York's classic rock. Q1043.
Welcome back, everybody. Jonathan Clark in the studio with OMD. It is Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, and they have been called the Beatles of synth pop. How do you feel about that quote, guys?
Really?
We'll take it.
I've seen it
It's
in a few
compliments.
places, actually.
Have you really?
Yes.
I've never even seen that before.
Yeah.
We've been called a lot worse than that over the years, so we'll definitely take that one.
Definitely a lot worse.
No, well, we're from Merseyside. There's two main songwriters in the band.
Where is Merseyside as opposed to Liverpool, or is it the same place?
It's the wide. Well, it's the sides of the River Merseyside. So
Right.
It's,
Oh,
so-
okay.
but we're actually from the wrong side of the river. We're not actually on the Liverpool side. So we're like the New Jersey side kind of thing.
Hey, wait a second. I'm from
hang
Jersey.
on, New Jersey's the right side, isn't it? So
that's right.
let's
Let's
be
get that
careful
right.
here.
It is Andy McCluskey and Paul Humphrey. So great to have you guys in here, man.
It's great to be back in New York.
Yeah, the new album, The Punishment of Luxury. It's the 13th studio album. And for the very few, and I'm saying very few, that are unfamiliar with OMD's music from, I don't know, what? Is it close to, it's 40 years next year?
40 years next year.
Next year, yeah.
They might think they have heard you before, or they might think they are listening to the soundtrack to an early video game, perhaps, something like that. But my point is, the band has had such an influence in many ways, even to bands today like LCD Sound System, the XX, the Killers, and we can go to Nine Inch Nails and Depeche Mode too. I mean, that's got to feel good to you guys, right? That all these sort of like relevant current bands, take their influences from bands like OMD.
It is flattering. And what's interesting is that because a lot of these more modern bands are citing us as an influence, some of their audience are coming to check us out,
Right.
and they've got a younger audience. So we're sort of starting to attract a younger crowd.
Does
to
it seem
come
like?
check us out.
Does it seem like 40 years? Did it race by? Or?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we actually did stop working together for a while in the
Yeah.
middle, so that's probably given us a little
Right.
bit of extra stamina to
They
carry on. but-
hiatus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's. I mean, the craziest thing is that it was never intended to be more than one concert. I mean, that's why we picked the preposterous name of Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. It was just a dare. We'd just been writing these songs that even our friends didn't like in Paul's mum's back room. We just dared to do one gig once, and
Right.
then it's been a 40-year dare.
Wow, that's amazing.
I had no idea how that happened.
And where was the gig?
The gig was at Eric's Club in Liverpool in October
October
wasn't it?
1978,
78,
supporting a little band called Joy Division.
Oh my God! Wow,
Don't know if you've ever heard of them. Right now.
incredible. You guys, obviously we were talking about this before. If You Leave, a huge hit in America, and there are other songs of yours that are like the If You Leave in America, but they are in other countries too. Isn't that weird how that happens? I mean,
Well, there's several reasons why that's happened. I mean, our hits that we had early on in Europe, weren't successful in America, but it was a lot to do with the fact that we were signed to CBS Records at the time on a package deal.
You get in there and name that name, Paul.
I know.
Shame them.
I mean, they should be shamed, really, because they wouldn't let us go on the deal, but they didn't want to sell us either.
oh man,
So it was, I mean, so we were we were selling millions of records in Europe, playing huge places, and then we come over to the States, and we were lucky to be on college radio or one or two local stations, and just a few alternative people had heard of it.
And that's what's funny, because you guys were pop stars in Europe, in the UK, and then you come over here and you're automatically put into the alternative category, which kind of makes sense to me, being an American. And I actually worked at WLIR, one of the stations.
One of the few that supported us.
Yeah. But that's weird. It's like alternative here and it's pop over there.
Yeah, but it wasn't really until because A&M Records wanted to sign us, but CBS wouldn't release us for quite a while. But anyway, they finally did.
You were like Prince, slave tattoo on your forehead. Yeah,
Well,
just
not
like.
quite. But so when we did manage to sign to A&M, I mean they really put money behind us and helped us and promoted us and marketed us, which was what we needed, particularly a place the size of America.
That's the reality of the music industry. As Paul says, particularly in America, unless somebody is prepared to actually promote you, you can't do it yourself. You're not going to break America without somebody deciding they're going to make you a priority.
Yeah,
and of course there was no internet then, so you couldn't do online anything.
A lot, when you look up OMD online, the word Kraftwerk seems to enter the description of the band, Kraftwerkian, if that's even a word. But
It is.
but
It is a word.
did you guys really get into them as kids? Growing up, and
I mean, yeah, they were the reason why we started.
yeah,
I mean, we'd heard Autobahn, the song, on the radio in sort of 75, is it?
Von
Autobahn.
Autobahn.
That's the one.
And
Yeah.
it was really the first day of the rest of our lives.
Wow.
Because it was,
Well, it was the first day of the rest of my life. He wasn't allowed out by his mum to go to the gig because he was only 15.
So you guys were teenagers, yeah.
yeah, that's right. Andy went to see them, and that was really cemented Kraftwerk in his.
Yeah, and really, I mean, one of the reasons we started doing music together was because we had this sort of symbiotic relationship where I bought the records, but I had a really crappy mono record player. Paul
Oh.
had built his own stereo, so I went round to Paul's house to play the records.
Even back then,
so-
he was the technical guy,
Oh
right?
yeah,
I was
he's
the
the
nerd.
geek. He's
Yeah.
the geek.
Now that your music is it's not retro or anything, because OMD has always had this signature sound. People love 80s music in America, and I'm sure it's that way around the world. They love 80s music. They love 80s fashion, which probably creates
They
opportunity.
do? Are you absolutely sure about that?
Sure about the fashion thing? Yeah.
You guys, I saw you on Good Day New York yesterday, and you guys are just like, yeah, I mean, you're like fashion plates. It was amazing. But that's got to create opportunities for OMD that people still really embrace the 80s and the music of the 80s and even the fashion, I guess, right?
It's quite interesting because, we were talking about 40 years and we'd split for a while, but we reformed just over 10 years ago. And we tried very hard not to do anything that was considered to be kind of heritage or retro or
Right.
nostalgia, because we wanted to re-establish ourselves as a standalone performing act and still making contemporary music. But after a few years, we just realized, well, it's actually quite good fun to celebrate just playing the old hits and doing, retro gigs, for lack of a better word, with old friends from years ago.
Of course.
And giving the audience what they want, because people have very fond memories of the soundtrack of their lives. There's landmark moments that they hang on the sound of a song. And so we kind of lightened up a bit and went, you know what, this is a great fun thing to do. Let's just go and play half an hour of hits and everybody's happy.
Well, yeah, but
we've been trying to balance that though with making new records. I mean,
Yeah.
since we've reformed, we've made 3. This is our 3rd album we're on now.
it's
So,
I had
it's important to feel like we're going forward as well, but we're not ashamed of our back catalogue. We embrace our back catalogue because these songs are like time capsules.
It's funny, Johnny Marr was in here and he was talking about the one time, I think he was, the Smiths were on tour with the Pretenders. And for some reason, they're in LA and, Chrissy says to Johnny, hey, listen, we're going to go out to dinner with this friend of mine tonight. So they're just hanging out waiting for their friend to come over. The doorbell rings and it's Bruce Springsteen that they're having dinner or lunch with. But my point being that that later that night, Johnny got into this deep conversation about exactly what you were just talking about. And Bruce Springsteen told him, when somebody buys a ticket to your concert, that's a contract between you and that person. You know what I mean? They're spending money and they want to hear what they love about the band.
He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
I never understand, how bands seem to be either embarrassed or bored of their biggest hits, and they don't do them properly. They don't, well, we'll do an acoustic medley, or I just don't want to play that anymore.
We're going to do the
Sick of it,
jazz version
Yeah,
of
and
that.
it's like,
Exactly.
that's,
Really?
Yeah.
that's, that's just disrespectful to your song, to your audience, and to yourself, really, because you wrote it. you
Right,
know.
exactly.
So, yeah.
OMD in the studio with us, Andy McCluskey, Paul Humphreys, the new album, The Punishment of Luxury. Getting to that now, there is a video for the song Isotype. It's really cool.
Hypnotic, isn't it?
It's, yeah, I was like, whoa, I got to step away from the computer. But it's Isotype, but you look at the video and it's like a bunch of emojis, going around and around. And Isotype is,
Well, they were the original emojis, really.
yeah,
It's a pictorial language.
yeah.
sort of early 20th century sort of reduction of ideas or information into a simple visual form. And I like that. I mean, I'm a big fan of sort of mid 20th century art.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit ambivalent now that we sort of now that you can enable or emojis to take over your actual words.
It's weird when a birthday cake shows up when you're
Yeah.
typing happy birthday to somebody.
know.
And
Yeah.
some of them are fairly self-explanatory, but then you get kind of like Big Eye, Scary, Arrow, Left, Rocket, Kiss, and you're like,
Cup of coffee,
What do you,
like
I
exactly
don't
what are you
understand
saying?
these particular hieroglyphics. What are you trying to say to me?
yes, and they're very small sometimes too, and they're hard to see.
Oh, that's
Exactly,
another
that's
one.
another thing.
I sometimes have to take a screenshot to blow it up to go, oh, okay, it's a smiley face. All right.
OMD in the studio with us. We got Andy and Paul, the new album, The Punishment of Luxury. Getting to another song on the album. This video for the title track, The Punishment of Luxury, it's like an animated trip through strip clubs, sports cars, things like this, like luxury items, I'm assuming. And I think there is an appearance by somebody with this crazy head of hair who happens
You spotted
to...
him.
Yeah, I spotted him, yeah.
Yeah.
Donald Trump we're talking about. Well, tell me about The Punishment of Luxury and this song and what we're trying to say here, and then we'll just play it off the record.
Essentially, most people now in the Western world are materially better off than ever before. And yet we seem to be more and more actually unhappy, because the reality is that we've replaced our kind of imagined order of religion or royalty or nationalism for consumerism. We have spent decades now being bombarded with this message that has become part of our lifestyle pattern now and our thinking, which is, unless I have the newest, unless I have the biggest, unless my body looks like this, my wife looks like that, I holiday here, I drink this beer, I'm not worthy of love, I shouldn't respect myself. And it's frightening how it seeps into every one of us. That's the punishment of luxury.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's the name of the new album from OMD. And we're going to play that song right now. But let's get to something more important. You're playing New York City. You're coming back, I guess, to Terminal 5 sometime in 2018. Can we?
Yeah. Early March. It's not definitely inked in, but it's penciled in, and we are very excited to be.
And
doing it.
you guys have played there before? Or
Yeah, we played there a couple of times. Terminal
Yeah.
5. I really like the venue. We particularly like standing venues. It's just because there's a much better vibe. with a
Right,
standing
absolutely.
venue.
And, you know,
it's
the
a great
hardcore
one.
fans are like, yeah, they can just get right up close. It's
Yeah, there's a good atmosphere.
So it's OMD, Terminal 5 in March of 2018. Go out and everybody get the new album because it's fantastic.
Thank you.
The Punishment of Luxury. And I'm going to read one last quote here. I guess it was from you, Andy. On this album, we have managed to make beautiful things out of noises and repetitive patterns. The trouble is we just can't help but write a catchy melody.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's our signature, you know, as
Yeah.
OMD. That's kind of what we do. I mean, we love to experiment and we love to do different things, but at the end of the day, a song has to bear repetition, and in order to keep hearing a song over, there's got to be a melody to latch onto it. I mean, you know, Kraftwerk was always like that.
Yeah.
In the very early days, I mean, there was kind of mad electronics and crazy things going on, but they always had a tune that kind of made you go back to it and want to hear it again.
Yeah.
So we've always kind of had
the
that.
Sex Pistols and Nirvana were trying to be radical, but they had great tunes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, they got to have the songs, right? Yeah.
It's all down to the tune, really.
Yeah. All right, guys. Andy McCluskey, Paul Humphreys, OMD. Everybody go out and get the new album, The Punishment of Luxury. And we'll see you at Terminal 5 in March of 2018.
We
Great.
really look
See
forward
you
to
there.
it.
Thank you so much, guys.
New York's classic rock. Q1043.